You might be well beyond those early days of your startups, but I'm sure that feeling has stuck with you and you can remember what it was like to start that startup.
For me, there were a number of reasons. So the original genesis of the company was born out of the back of my PhD. It was an accidental discovery. And then I didn't actually take the startup leap until my son actually had a number of respiratory conditions, and I actually had to go back to the drawing board and actually build the product in my kitchen. I drew it on my kitchen bench and actually built it for my family and myself.
I think like mine was really cumulative and iterative. Like those are, startup-y words, but essentially what happened for me was I just did one thing and then I just did another thing. And so I never had that moment of, oh my gosh, I'm going to solve employability or build an alternative higher education company. That was not the thing I sat there at my desk at the bank thinking. What I did think was, gosh, there's a bunch of my colleagues here that like, if only they could communicate a bit better what they were good at, they could get better jobs. And oh my gosh, there's a lot of young people who could be more than what their parents tell them to be. And just like those little moments of going, well, how could I maybe just put something in front of them to help them? And actually I started doing like really basic stuff. I charged people a few $100s to do a LinkedIn profile or a resume and just like built that out. And then all of a sudden went, okay, we're going to take a leap and take 7 students to Silicon Valley and just show them what it's like in the innovation ecosystem in a different country. And then after that sort of 2-week program where we had just 7 students and 1 university partner, it was like, okay, this is something, let's do it again. And so I think just really to bust that myth of the lightning bolt idea, it's really just action for me. It was like curiosity, action. Do a thing, learn a thing, do a thing, learn a thing. And it's way more accessible than I think a lot of people realize. There's something in that story which can be scary to people to enter the startup world, because I think like the obsession with outliers is correct from that one VC perspective, right? And obviously that's the industry we're talking about is startups with venture backing and like they've got the ability to become that billion-dollar company. But it can be really, really intimidating for someone entering who's not from a business background or who's not from a startup background, maybe hasn't grown up like watching or reading the media that we now do and produce. And so I think that, if I don't know who I'm talking to at this table, but I mean, I just think like when I think back to who I was, if I had known that narrative then, I actually reckon I would have been too scared to come in.
The outliers.
Yeah, I actually reckon I would have been. I think what got me in was the just try to make a difference and like try to do it with the resources that you have and be scrappy and creative and have some fun with it. And I know that that's not the cool VC narrative, but that's what got me into it. And so I think like just to open up the invitation for people to join, even if you're not sure if you could be that outlier, like you kind of, as I said, need to have some delusion that you could be. Like you're like, I know I can be something, I know I can be ambitious and global.
What would you do or build if you knew you could not fail?
Exactly.
And removing that doubt. I mean, psychologically, it does take a leap of faith. To go out and do this. You say you sort of just...
Especially if you've got kids, mortgage, like you're coming from a place where you actually have like financial responsibilities. Like there's an entry point into this world which doesn't necessarily feel like you've got nothing to lose. And so I think that's where there's a little bit of shift in mindset sometimes. I
echo Janet's point, because when I first told my bosses at the hospital that I was doing this, they kind of thought, oh my God, like, are you crazy? And that's true, because I think it's the part of the sprinkling of the naivety that I went, no, actually I got this, because I can build, if nothing else, I can get to the customer myself because I've got the technical capability, right? That's I get this confidence part, that I have this in the bag. If anything else, I can get to my first customer on my own, and I can build the right people around me. And I think, I didn't know what a VC was. To this day, I'm still figuring it out. And I think, so you can help us. But I think, you have to take on the obsession with the customer, and I think that's true no matter where you are. And if you take the view that you're going to get to the market as fast as you can, and however might it takes, and with MedTech there are so many red tape that you've got to like push through. But end of the day, it's all about getting a product in the hands that will ultimately delight your first customer.
Yeah.